Hi everyone, it's Nicole and I'm here with another layout, and this one is a page kit that I had put together to go to Crop and Create, and I didn't get it scrapped. So my friend Monique from work came over, I think it was on April 10th. Yeah, it was on April 10th. So quite a few, like 2 weeks ago, because today's April 24th. And we managed to get 2 pages done each, I think. She came for a few hours and we scrapped and chat and had a whole bunch of fun, and we had lunch together. And I haven't had time to do the voiceover for this. And just to warn you, there's not going to be pictures at the end because tomorrow I go back to work. Tomorrow's the 25th and I work for 4 days. And then I go to for a crop for the weekend. And this past few days, my daughter was over. She took a week and a half of vacation, so I was with her my whole 5 days off. We ended up going to Halifax to shop for a wedding dress because she's getting married next summer, which we did not think she was going to find one, but she ended up finding one. She got a super great deal on it. But anyway, so I haven't had a lot of time to scrapbook or do voiceovers or anything like that. I did get ready for my crop. I uploaded a few videos that I shared, some page kits that I put together. So you can go on my YouTube channel and you can see that. And so I just want to get a couple of voiceovers done so that I have a couple of videos to upload this week, because like I said, I'm working all week and then I'm going to a crop, so I won't be able to do it. And of course you saw me, I cut down the photos. These are my photos of actually the daughter that's getting married, but here she was way younger. She was only 17 at this point. And I cut them down to about 3x4. And you saw I put them on my cardstock and I was chatting, and then all of a sudden I was like, whoa, you're going to waste a perfectly good sheet of cardstock. So you saw me move it in the center and then matte the photos in brown. And this is a picture of her playing with her cell phone. Like I said, she was 17, so I don't even know what kind of cell phone it was. But we had gone to the States for a bit, and I had to get her texting for the time that we were there, because it was like, oh my goodness, I won't be able to text anybody, which normally I would put it on my phone, and I didn't use it because I would just text my mom, yeah, we're here, we're safe, and that kind of stuff. But it's not as if I was getting a bunch of texting, so I didn't mind putting it on her phone instead, and at least she got the use for the money that we were paying to have that. And what I'm doing there is I was showing my friend there that I had almost ruined my caterpillar crop way back because I cut some chipboard with it. Even though it says not to do it, I did it. And then I had to use the blade back and forth until it resharpened the blade, and it's fine now. That was over a year ago, but just a warning, don't use that trimmer for chipboard because it does dull the blade. You can get it back, but it was kind of hard on the trimmer. So I had this decorative pattern paper, and I believe that's from My Mind's Eye. It's super old. I've had it in my stash for years and years and years. So that's what's great about making page kits is you end up using some stuff that you've had around for a long time. And every time I do page kits, I find different ways to go about my stash and use different things. Like that time there, then when I made my pages for Crop and Create, I used a stack of pattern papers that were just sort of recent pattern papers, like maybe in the last 4 or 5 years, but all different brands. And I grabbed papers from there. And then this last time I just went and grabbed a whole bunch of paper pads and started pulling papers from that and ended up making 15 page kits, which I'm going to be taking to my crop this coming Friday, which I'm super excited. But anyway, back to this layout. I just cut that decorative paper, which has kind of a scallop edge, and I cut it about 3/4, and then I took those 6x6 and cut it to about 3x6, and I didn't know if I wanted to put them vertically or horizontally. I decided to put them horizontally because vertically my photos were bigger than the pattern papers, so I liked it kind of peeking out from under that deckled or decorative pattern paper, and then it made a nice little matting for my pictures. Now the pattern paper that I decide to use for my background really has it's sort of vanilla, the background, so it's not completely white, and then the shapes on it is in brown, and that's why I decided to bring in some brown cardstock. And then I'm going to mount, I cut off about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch off on each side, and then I'm going to mount it on that cardstock that I cut out the inside. Again, these pattern papers are by no means any new pattern papers. Some of them are probably 5 or 6 years old, and I just love using stuff that's not new. You know, it's been around in my craft room for a bit, and when I use it, it just feels like, you know, yes, I'm getting my supplies used up, and it feels really good. So I really like using those pattern papers and just kind of making them stick out a little bit like that on the side, and then it gives me a place to mount my photo, and my photo, like there's 2 of them, so one photo is going to sit on the pink pattern papers that are horizontal, and then the other one is going to go over that other pattern paper. But I really like the look of that. It just makes my photos really pop. And I didn't want to cover that beautiful pattern paper with the scalloped edge. So that's why I ended up putting it underneath and not over top. And the only thing I made sure was when I put my pattern papers underneath, I made sure that the ends, so that underneath you didn't see, it didn't create another corner on the right side. So the pattern papers are nicely and tucked underneath because I don't want any awkward little corners. So it's all nice and tucked, like I said, underneath that other pattern paper. This is a scrap, and that's where I'm going to do my journaling. I just cut it down to size. I'm just going to make sure that it touches the end of the pattern paper, so it looks like the whole thing is coming off the page. And then I'm going to start my embellishments. And this is all like, you know, I just randomly grabbed some embellishments when I put this page kit together. And now I'm just going to kind of separate them into 3 groups. So I have some little flags, and I have some tags and some labels, and I'm going to try and use as much as I possibly can. And then there's these rubber embellishments, and I love those, and I've been kind of using them quite a bit lately because like I said, I went through my stash and I said, okay, what's some of the stuff that I haven't been using, so let's get them to use and let's get them onto some pages, so that I bought these things for a reason. You know, I want to use the supplies that I have and get them onto layouts, because as cute as they are, if they're just sitting in a container, nobody's going to see them, maybe except for myself when I'm trying to, you know, go through stuff. But I I can honestly say that I never look at something and say, oh, I think I'm going to keep that for a cuter layout, you know. Whenever and that's one of the main reasons why I do the page kits, and then I just throw a bunch of supplies on there, because whatever kind of piques my fancy, I just put it in the page kit. And at that point, I don't even know what pictures I'm going to use. So it's not as if I'm going to say, oh, I want to use it for a specific page. And if I do, if it sparks an idea in my head, well, then I'll go look for those pictures and make sure that I put it with that page kit. But at least the other way around, if I pick my pictures first and then I look for embellishments, I can be looking for embellishments forever, right? To just go through your embellishments and to find that perfect embellishment can be quite time consuming. So now I'm working on the embellishment clusters, and I was going to put my little flags at the top right corner of over that pattern paper, but I found that it kind of got lost on that pattern paper. So that's why I moved it to the top left. And then it just meant that I was going to have to do my embellishment cluster at the top of my journaling card instead of the bottom. So then that way, it's not that I spend a lot of time thinking about the visual triangle, and I think it's something that eventually, the more that maybe at first it's more of a conscious thing, but after a while it's just something that comes naturally, so that when you look at your picture, you just got to make sure that the embellishments sort of surround your photo. And so if you were to make, it doesn't have to be a perfect triangle, like the triangle that I made right here, it kind of is like a long stretched out triangle, and that's okay. And I'm going to do a little bit of embellishment at the top, and that's where I'm going to put my title. And if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that a lot of times I'll put embellishment surrounding my title. Not a lot. It's usually my smallest embellishment cluster, but I like to put a little bit of embellishments with my title. And the title for this page is just going to be I Need It, because that's pretty much what she had said. I mean, we were going on vacation, and she wasn't going to be we were going to the States, and she wasn't going to be able to talk to her friends for like almost 2 weeks, and that just wasn't going to do. And like I said, I always put it on my phone, because in case of emergency, and just to let my mom know that we were there. And I usually put minutes too, so that I could call home, and at least once, And so it didn't matter whether I put it, we all had the same phone plan. So whether it was on my phone or on her phone, it didn't matter. And we probably got more of our money's worth, because she actually used her text and not just, paid for it and then maybe text once or twice. And I think the plan at the time, this was a long time ago, but she could do like 100 texts a day. Now I think it's unlimited, but this was quite a few years ago. And, so she was really good about it. She would count her text and make sure that she didn't go over the 100 texts. So instead of, their normal, just LOL and putting it through, and then, one 3-letter word, and she was making sure that she was, putting a lot of meat in her text and then sending it through, so that she would make her 100 count. And because I warned her that it could not go over what we had paid for the plan, and she was really good about it. And it was a learning experience for her. It made her responsible, and to count. So now I'm adding some embellishments. The last bit of embellishments, it's just some enamel dots, and I believe that's going to complete my layout. And I hopefully will be uploading a page on Wednesday. It depends if I can do the voiceover. And then I'm going away for the weekend. So hopefully there won't be a video on Friday. I don't think so, because I won't have time to make one for Friday, a DIY. But hopefully by next week, everything will go back to normal. I just had some company. I had, like I said, my daughter, she came over for a week and a half, so I didn't spend a lot of time in my craft room. So that's it. I want to thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.